Marnin!
Madden!
Welcome to the India Explained podcast, recorded in London and San Francisco. One take, unscripted, no rehearsal. Hey Bunty, welcome back. This is our second story today. We run these through the week, but we are doing it today on, Sunday, October 8th, San Francisco and London, as always. So the story I wanted to talk about in a light-hearted vein is, well, maybe light-hearted, maybe not. That gentleman by the name of Maulana Kazmi, who's, I think, the head honcho Chief Maulana, if that whatever that position is at the Deoband school, has made a
Yeah,
remark saying that he's issued a fatwa saying that Muslim women should not cut their hair and should not groom their eyebrows.
right.
Um, and I mean there's it's been ignored, it's been countered. It's not a very big story, and there are many of these kinds of remarks sort of routinely uttered by Indians of different religious tribes. But I just wanted to talk about this. A couple of things. First, that this is obviously so there's two or three different things happening here. One, this is an Indian story, which is that regardless of religion, you have a lot of men, whether it's ML Khattar, the Chief Minister of Haryana, saying if women want to be modern, they should run around naked, those kind of remarks.
Right.
What women should wear. Uh, and this, so Hindus and Muslims do this both. You get these remarks from North India as well as possibly from South India, but I remember seeing a lot of them from the North. Nothing new. That's one. Indians. Two, within the context of Islam, this notion of issuing fatwas about all these things is, I think it's a Muslim habit in Muslim practice in general. So there's that, dimension to it, that these bizarre fatwas about, don't use a wristwatch, or, if you're going to participate in the 100 meters, you have to run in a burqa, those kinds of things. Some Muslim, Muslims get very offended at this by pointing this out, I should add, because they feel that, look, this guy's an idiot. Nobody in the Muslim community gives any credence to him, but your commenting on him and even mocking on him is sort of communal,
Yeah.
which is a very odd argument. But people do make that argument, and they say that why are you picking this one thing? He doesn't represent the Muslim community, and I agree he doesn't, but it is still a point of view. The third is
Correct.
the Indian obsession with hair. And sorry, I'll just take a second more. Third
Yeah.
is the Indian obsession with hair, like Indian man, patriarchal. Like Sharad, I remember Sharad Yadav, the politician, years ago had described women who cut their hair as parkati, which is like the equivalent of a bird. Like it means that a woman who cuts her tresses is like a bird without wings. So this idea that Indian femininity or femininity in general rests in long hair is
Yeah.
again an Indian male obsession. So chalo, I'll end it here. So just let me know your thoughts on this
No, no, no,
stuff.
no, no. This is a very interesting point you were making second. So when people say, let's take your second point,
Hmm.
that why should we give any attention to this guy? We on this show have
Hmm.
periodically pointed out an assortment of godmen and babas, right,
Hmm.
who sat in one faith. So I
Hmm.
think, in fairness, we should pick up
Hmm.
on madness that resides on the other end of the fence, and this guy is a
Hmm.
prime time illustration of this. So it is on that basis it's absolutely credible to talk about loonies on both sides of the
Hmm.
fence, and this guy
Right.
is a lunatic, right? So that's to your second point.
Hmm.
Um, on the business of silly fatwas, I
Hmm.
think, and Muslims, not only in India, Muslims world over, have to ask themselves where
Hmm.
this tradition of fatwabazi comes from.
Hmm.
It comes from a time where communities weren't, or communication wasn't advanced. Everything happened from minaret to minaret. So
Hmm.
somebody would holler out something from one minaret to the other, and that's how the word would spread that a fatwa has gone out. And these fatwas were reserved for like really uh, big ticket items,
Hmm.
right? What I have seen in my lifetime, the seminal fatwa was the Salman Rushdie fatwa,
Hmm. Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Which is that he's written something blasphemous about our faith,
Hmm. Hmm.
and it is serious enough for us to kind of threaten his physical safety as a community world over, that we are so insecure as a community that somebody's writing in English, etc., needs to do this. So I was kind of in my formative years when that fatwa was happening. So that was, I thought, okay, so that's a fatwa when a faith's kind of basis has been questioned, or the superstar of the faith, his makeup has been questioned. This is an issue. But nowadays, you get fatwas for eating egg rolls, fatwas for
Hmm.
riding on auto rickshaws and cycle
Right.
rickshaws.
Right.
So I think what I would like our Muslim readers, Muslim listeners to do is send us a list of silly fatwas which they are scared will happen, right? And I think we should talk about the top 10 silliest fatwas on the planet, whether existing or intentional, because the way you defeat these kind of idiots is by laughing at these projects that This guy's gone around and saying that you can't have a haircut, you can't thread your eyebrows.
What
And
do
we'll come
you?
to the, yeah, go on.
Yeah, sorry. So I sorry to cut you off there, Auntie. I, I I just want to sort of jump in while you're on this thread and say that what do you make of the argument that given that India is a society right now, which I mean, we've already we were a society that has this troubled sort of violent moment of partition, which is in our founding history, and then relations between the communities have been fraught, and we are in a moment where minorities are being picked on. And this is a kind of argument that the left, in one form or another, makes all the time. So it may appear like I'm caricaturing that argument, but I am actually representing it seriously, and I've taken it very seriously. That we should sort of dial it down on criticizing this guy because we are criticizing the Muslim community, even if he doesn't represent or speak for the entire community, and we are strengthening the hand of the Hindu right for our argument to be co-opted. And second point that maybe this is a different framework. This is the sort of weird cultural relativist argument. So we should even in criticizing him, we should be respectful, try and understand where he's coming from, patriarchal as it is. He's trying to operate within an Islamic framework and all of that. What do you make of that? Because I find those very dubious arguments.
I think I'm totally in your slipstream on that. These are dubious arguments because if I think a bad practice, say uh, violence against women, controlling what women wear and do, and how women present themselves in a secular society like ours. If this was happening in Iran or decidedly Islamic public culture, there would be some ground to say that this guy is operating in the framework of a particular way of expressing desired look and feel of public life. That's not what is happening. I think it's silly behavior. And I think by participating in this kind of JNU buzzy of, pretending, taking a position on the left, which is actually in a common sense rubric, not actually tenable, because you're thinking, why are you doing this? Because you're essentially trying to glorify a particular type of behavior, which is good. So I think one of the things, Taliban's are subalterns. That whole line of thinking that
By the way, the Taliban has its origins in 1861 in Deoband. That's just an interesting historical fact. So,
well, there you go.
huh.
So I think this whole thing that because the Taliban are have taken arms up against imperialism and capitalist forces. Therefore, they are part of the class struggle. This kind of curveballs I don't understand.
Yeah,
But anyway, let's
it's
step back from
yeah,
that
yeah,
because that could be a whole separate episode.
yeah.
I'd like to use for ourselves on this show, on this podcast, a very common sense approach. Is this what this person, whichever faith, remember a while back we did this podcast where a guy was frozen because his followers felt that he would come
Ha
back to
ha
life,
ha.
his body was frozen. So we unabashedly called that out as stupid behavior in connection with a dead man who was never going to come back to life. It was just delusional. And I think we should be consistent. We'll call out stupid behavior, doesn't matter which side of the fence it
Are you
sits, as
now
stupid behavior.
when we are calling this stupid behavior, or when we are criticizing even the that Guru Ram Rahim Singh, the guy who's in jail for rape, right?
Yeah.
And we obviously, like what he did is condemnable. But I'm saying that even aside from that, the fact he was often criticized for his like loud clothes and so on. Um, are we whether are we being classist? What do you think? I mean, and I'm not trying to do a 1-2 number where we wind up patting ourselves on the back, but that's the other thing, that in dismissing these kind of people, is there some, because that's the kind of variant of the Ashish Nandi argument, right? Which is
Right.
that we are deracinated, westernized, modern pseudo modernized Indians who are self-hating, and in some ways we are being very harshly judgmental because this nominally appears to violate the tenets of a Western liberal framework. Very quickly, what are your thoughts on that?
I don't agree because I think on this particular instance, it's a person pontificating on how women should present themselves in public space in a society where there is no law that prevents women from presenting themselves as they see themselves fit to be presented. I'm getting the words confused, but there isn't a body of law that says women can't, have long hair. If this was ISIS controlled territory, if this was a particular framework, that's absolutely fine. That's how they roll there, and that's what, if you don't want to get your head chopped off, that's what you have to
Right.
do.
Well, I mean,
So
maybe it's not fine there either, but I
yeah,
don't know
yeah,
if I don't know if I'd support like bombing a country like I'd say you don't invade Iran because they have like dubious practices. India has dubious practices too, but still, yeah,
correct,
I get
correct,
what you're
correct.
saying, which is that yeah, I mean in the Indian context we there's no reason why a citizen should have to do
Because
this, but
yeah, but and I think that this making the excuse of a particular type of behavior become a or making it a credible practice, like oh, child marriage is a cool thing because
Hmm.
it's been happening for 13 centuries in this part. Yeah, that is true, but it should not stop you, whichever class position you're coming from,
Right.
to say that marrying of a 13-year-old to a 42-year-old man is
Yeah.
actually a stupid practice
Yeah,
and it's
and
got to stop.
it's a really good point. We are sort of going a little away from the story, but I'm glad because beneath the silliness, I think there was a serious issue, and this is my problem with a guy like Tariq Ramadan. He's a professor at Notre Dame University, and to me, it's a very problematic argument when he says that female genital mutilation is something to be decided internally among the Muslim community. And my point is that yeah, nobody's saying send planes out to every Muslim community that practices, but any human being who believes in the equality and dignity of humans should be able to criticize that. So this idea that this is internal to the Muslim community and everyone else but out is to me very regressive and very troubling. So
Correct,
yeah.
correct.
So yeah, Bunty, I think we'll maybe wrap that up now. And
Okay.
I'll just end with this thought that yeah, I mean, there's this fatwa. In theory, we already have the fact that the constitution overrides it. But I wish that for the Muslim community, in practice, the constitution should be seen as the kind of mother of all fatwas, which immediately and instantly supersedes other fatwas. So okay, while on fatwas, I think. I don't know where I was going with that, but yeah, I think there's a fatwa for me to come and have lunch. So,
Okay, chalo, chalo. Take
not
care.
really.
Okay,
All right.
take care.
So,
Bye
yeah,
bye.
we'll be back. Okay, take care.
All right,
Bye,
take care,
Bunty.
take care. Bye bye, bye bye.